Morning. So last time I talked about suchness, and then I received a question that needs more help. So want to understand suchness, and I don't understand suchness. So I said it's very maybe too simple way of explaining, like it's sort of like just this moment as it is, and here and now. So so just here and now, right now, if you're sitting in the zendo of this temple, that feels like that, and sitting on the cushion feels like this, and sitting on a chair is like that. So looking at your, what do you see? And maybe if you're on Zoom or YouTube, you see me. So looking at the screen of the computer feels like this. So sort of raw experience of being, of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and then forming the mental, conception. So maybe the mental formation of this moment is, I don't understand the question. I don't understand the suchness. That feels like want to understand it, and then wanting to understanding, and then not feeling completely understanding. That's sort of like feels like maybe unsatisfactory, like a knot in your stomach. Maybe that might be the suchness of this moment. And then I often feel like when I personally don't understand, I also like try to look at the books and then trying to find out, trying to talk to people, talk to my teacher, or go to ask questions. Some people I think I know better, and then sometimes that's very helpful, and sometimes I still don't understand, and it feels maybe sometimes I get more confused. So the words and the intellectual understanding can be deceptive. It can be very helpful, and it can be very confusing. So depending on the where you are and what you are, and then depending on your understanding of this moment, every experience is different. So I do think it's always better to experience the truth than talking about it or reading about it. It's like what Dogen said, is not just Dogen, the ancient masters said, the eating a painted rice cake is different from tasting a rice cake. So all I can recommend is do more zazen. So I think that could be helpful. To me, it's very helpful to sit. So sometimes, like when I sit and just sort of like insight or wisdom come, but I'm not looking for wisdom when I sit, but just like when I let go and then opening a hand of my thoughts and then dropping body and mind, naturally wisdom is already there and always there. And then So that will be available, and it's always available. So maybe something you want to think about. Okay. So today, I was asked to talk about the koan a little bit before my Hosenshiki coming up next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. But Reverend Hoko will give a talk on Saturday at the Gyocha, Honsoku Gyocha, formal tea, formal, maybe informal tea day before the Hosenshiki. So she'll give a talk, and that's probably more helpful than I'm talking about it today. So, but I will talk about a little bit. But I don't want you to think about too much before Hosenshiki and then come up with very difficult intellectual questions. I rather want you to bring some very personal, question than intellectual, wordy question. Something very close to your heart. That's what I like, but that's my preference. Okay, so the koan I chose was from case number 8, and then from the Book of Serenity. Title is Baizhang's Fox. Is that the same book on the website? You think? Thomas Crowley, yeah. So this is translated by Thomas Crowley. Okay. So it should be on Sanshin website on the ango page, if you can find it. Okay. So the case is the Baizhang. Baizhang is in Japanese Hyakujo, so he's a Zen master. Hyakujo is, I think, the name of mountain in China. So he was he was giving Dharma talk in the Zendo, and then there's some the people come to listen his talks. And then maybe some lay people and the monks are there. And then there's always old men who are just listening the talk every time Baizhang gives a talk. And then he comes with other lay people and then listen, and then he leaves with other lay people. But one day he stayed in Zendo, and then so Baizhang asked him, "Who is it standing there?" And this old man said, "I'm not the person. I'm in antiquity. In antiquity, in what's in antiquity? What's in antiquity in old times? Old times. In the time of the ancient Buddha Kasyapa, I lived on this mountain." And a student asked, "Does a greatly cultivated man still fall into cause and effect or not?" I answered him, "He does not fall into cause and effect. And I fell into a wild fox body for 500 lives. Now I ask the teacher to turn a world in my behalf." Baizhang said, "He is not blind to cause and effect." The old man was greatly enlightened at these words. So that's the case. Thank you. Well, so the reason I chose this the case is was I'm also the fox. So I was told in my past you're going to become a fox because I'm grasping to get enlightened. So my desire to get enlightened was too strong. So some teachers told me like, oh, you're going to be fox, you're going to become a fox. So that's how, Gorashi told me you should choose something that feels very close to you. So that feels very close to me. So that's the reason I chose this koan. So so I wanted to, relieve from all the suffering. So if I become enlightened, I will be free from all suffering, and then, so cause and effect, suffering. So just wanted to get enlightened, and then just, I didn't even want to be bodhisattva, confession. So I feel, at that time, I felt like a kind of bodhisattva is kind of arrogant, to how dare you try to save all beings, that's totally impossible. And then, if you think you can, you're delusional. So that's why I thought it's more helpful to become, get enlightened, to become a Buddha, an Arahant, completely enlightened being, would be more helpful than just being a bodhisattva. That's what I thought. So I was still kind of aiming to get enlightened secretly. Yeah. So so fox is a karmic self who is, born with this body and mind, and then dies with this body and mind. And then this karmic self is completely, in this world, there's like Four Noble Truths. There's suffering, and then there's a cause and effect. Always, this is a law of nature. If I drop this clock, if I let go of my hand, the clock gets dropped. So that just, my cause is letting go of the hand, and then dropping off is the clock. So that's the effect. So we are not, as long as we have this body and mind, we will receive this, we always subjected to cause and effect. And then even Buddha, he died of the stomach infection, something. He ate some poisonous mushroom, I think. So, and he suffered from, the stomach, and then, the pains, and then, so that's the cause. He ate, he ate the mushroom, and then caused for him to become sick, and then passed away. And then he was still, receiving cause and effect. He was not really free as a human body. So that's we're completely responsible for what we do, and then we receive the result, and that's very that's a nature of our life. So that's a fox, and then but I feel very compassionate I feel compassion to fox because, you know, he wanted to be free. Or I mean, the student, you know, who asked him, you know, question, he wanted to be free from cause and effect. I think he wanted to be free from the suffering. That's why he thought, well, if I get enlightened, I'll be free. You know? So, Baizhang, I think that it's also like Baizhang's response is skillful means. So if he answered to this student for that moment of suchness, so the student wanted to get, you know, free from enlightenment, grasping, you know, that's becoming tanha, desire. And then so the Baizhang's answer was no. So you won't be affected. You know, you will be free. You won't be fall into cause and effect. And then that's so that's sort of like probably gives this person hope to, you know, practice more, the student, and then that might be helpful, you know. But also the other side of it is you know, so it's, if I want to get enlightened, to free from suffering, that's, you know, grasping and then trying to trying to reach the goal. So that's, you know, so if I would grasp that, you know, that's more perpetuating suffering. And then so, not Baizhang. So the Baizhang told answer to this old man, foxman, he's not blind to cause and effect. So he is clearly seeing the suffering of the world, cause and effect. So he has clear eye of seeing, not ignoring the world of suffering. So the one side, so we are kind of like all partly fox and partly Baizhang. So we're probably talking about the same thing. So individual self, karmic self as one, and that's fox. And then, but all 5 aggregates made up with this body and mind are all empty. So that's 0. But also, because we are 0, we are all connected in one thing. So that's infinity. So we have to sort of like hold all 3 together. It's not just one, and then individual becomes 0, and then that's free. But we have to be individual and empty, and that's you will hold everything. So individual and emptiness all together. So we are kind of like you know, both in the same time. Okay. So another thing. I think that's about it. So the one side of this of as a fox, as a karmic being, you could understand your karma, you know, your conditioning, how your condition the way, and then understand your karma. So that might be helpful to let go of your, conditioning. So, for just an example, like I'm from a very kind of like aggressive, verbally abusive, verbally or physically abusive, maybe, a little violent family, not extremely, but moderately violent family. But my, my parents and my sister are always arguing and fighting, and so that's, I grew up in this household, so I have this strong reaction to anger. So to me, in my mind, in my conditioned mind, anger is very scary thing. So anger could cause physical, pain, and then also could be death. In my little child mind, you get killed. If I make somebody angry, my parents, I get killed. So that was, very simplistic way of, the little child seeing the world. But because of this, the conditioning that caused of many, many years, I still have the same reaction. So I get easily startled by anything. When I was living at Sawyer, and it's in a dormitory next door. Sawyer's very quietly, he walks very quietly, and then it's carpeted, so you don't really hear any sound. So like once, usually like he happens many times. Whenever he comes, I get really startled by, so I was like screaming, and then, so, that happened many times. So, so, I mean, that's just simplistic way of explaining. So I know this is my conditioning. So whenever, I feel fear, when I think I might be making somebody's angry, I have to sort of like, step back and then see it as my conditioning is arising. So instead of just following my fear, which is just, just keep perpetuating my karma, I could step back and stop myself and see this is just my conditioning, and I don't really need to be so afraid, So just being in this moment, and then don't go to your, past, memory of your past or future. So again, it is this kind of like a suchness of this moment. You can actually just go back to the experience of just being right here in this moment, just hearing, and then seeing, smelling, touching, tasting, and the mental formation. If you can just go back to the raw experience of being, we don't need to go, all mental anguish. So, so the related to this fox thing is so the karmic self is always evaluating and judging. So the fox, karmic self, ourselves, is always, oh, I don't really want to have any suffering. I don't want to, I don't want to experience. That's the usual mind. And then, so this is just the famous example of, what's the title? It's, oh, I didn't bring it. So this is, I think this is influenced by Taoism, and this is kind of parable of horse, science horse. I don't know. I forgot the Chinese name. So in Japanese, it's sai-o ga uma. Uma is horse. So I think many of people know already. So it's, it's an old story. So this is a story. So one this old man who has his job was like raising horses, and then one day one of the horse ran away and disappeared. So the people, the neighbors told him, "Oh, that's so unfortunate. We are really sorry." And then, well, this person said, "Well, we don't know. This is good or bad." And then the next day, a week later, this horse came back with another horse. And then the neighbor said, "Oh, wow, that's great. That's great fortune. You're so lucky." And then the old man said, "Well, we don't know, this is good or bad." And then I think the year later, so war happened. And then all the young men were drafted to the war. Oh, wait, no, before that, I'm sorry. So his old man's son was riding this new horse, and then he broke his leg. And I think that's a year later, and that war happened, and then government were drafting all the young men to the war, but his son, because he had broken leg, and then so he was not drafted. So the villagers said, "Oh, wonderful! You're so lucky that your son was not drafted." So I think that maybe that's the end of. There's more to the story. I forgot. Anyway, so that's the thing. Like, so our karmic self is always evaluating good or bad, right or wrong, constantly. But we don't know the whole. We never know the whole picture. So as long as we always, like swayed by right and wrong, good and bad, we'll be always, there'll be always suffering. But there is a way to live without swaying, right and wrong, good and bad. So how was it? So I was, reading this Shin Min. So the Shin Min, I read this poem by third patriarch. So the Shin Min also talk about that too. Which one I should read? So so denying of reality is the asserting of it, and the asserting of emptiness is the denying of it. So it's like both reality. So denying of reality is, denying the cause and effect is actually asserting a reality. And then asserting of emptiness, who is, wanted to get enlightened and then leave, the free of all suffering, is actually denying the emptiness. So transformation going on in an empty world which confronts us appear real all because of ignorance. Try not seek after the true, only cease to cherish opinions. Abide not with dualism, carefully avoid pursuing it. As soon as you have right and wrong, confusion ensues, and mind this translation says mind equal the way, the one equal emptiness. I think it's equal the infinity is lost. Clinging is never kept within bound. It is sure to go the wrong way. So it's, what is it? One in all in one. If only this is realized, no more worry about you not being perfect. Thank you. So, being a fox, so I thought that being a fox or being a human being is terrible. So I thought, I don't want to reborn as a human being again. This is just too much suffering. So I wanted to, quickly exit and never return. But now I have a different sense. So yeah, so this is what my friend Heather, she's a director of Tassajara Monastery, Tassajara Zen Mountain Center, because there are people who come to Tassajara. Some people complain, this is like really hard, hard schedule. And then, I also did complain about the weather. It was too cold and too hot. And then there's not enough, time to rest. We're always tired. So this is what she said. She said, well, if you don't want to be here, this would be hell. So that's exactly that, if you don't want to be fox, if you don't want to be the karmic self, this is going to be hell. This is going to be all suffering. But what I come to settle is being fox is not bad, actually. So you can still enjoy your life being a fox, because you cannot be not being fox, not being a karmic self, as long as you have this body and mind. And then if you just, comes down to raw experience of being, just hearing, sensing, tasting, touching, smelling, and then this moment is not bad. I'm enjoying this oxygen. Nobody's attacking me right now. Nobody's scolding me right now. I can still comfortably sitting here now, and that's okay. So, and then, this is just a little bit extra, but and then Okumoroshi. So the 500 lifetime is actually when Shakyamuni Buddha aroused his mind to awake, what's the word for it? Hatsubodaishin. Hatsubodaishin is what's English? Aspiration to become, So when he aroused this Hatsubodaishin, aspiration to wake up, to wanted to become a Buddha, that moment until he became Arahant, completely enlightened, Shakyamuni Buddha, that's 500 lifetimes. So being a fox, as being a bodhisattva in this life, and then helping other people is not bad. It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake to be a karmic, body. And then that's the only way we can wake up. So I think that's about it. I think. So just a little bit. I said I would talk about this, but maybe anyway. So there's we studied the Menzan's Jijyu Zammai, and then so in Menzan's Jijyu Zammai in Okumura Roshi's study retreat in May, I think. So Menzan talked about how three poisonous minds, greed, hatred, ignorance, can be transformed to threefold pure precepts. So our, the karmic self has this greed, hate, and ignorance, but as we practice, we can transform to threefold pure precepts. Threefold pure precepts. One, I don't remember the order. Anyway, so end all evil, like end all evil is sort of like a don't do unwholesome action, and then cultivate all good, do wholesome action, and then three is free all being, or live for all being, or embracing all being. So this poisonous minds, greed to do all good. So you use this greedy mind to do all good. And then hatred, the poisonous mind of hatred, that you can use that hatred to end all evil, that stopped all unwholesome action, and turn ignorance of not knowing your true nature, which is no self, and impermanence nature of this life, and then the no self nature of ourselves. So you can turn the ignorance to free all being, because we are all one and connected, and we are all infinity. So, okay. And I said I'd talk about other things, but I don't think I have time. So maybe next time. Okay. So don't form a lot of questions for Hosenshiki. I hope not. And then, so you probably don't want to ask the question about the koan today. Maybe you can keep it for the next week. Or, Okay. Thank you very much.
Any questions in the room?
I got a question. So I plan on ordaining in 2 weeks. Will I be free from karma?
No. No. Yes and no. I mean, like a no as a human being, but yes, as the infinity of all being. It's all inclusive.
Is my bodhicitta karma?
Bodhicitta may be karma, right? That's a good karma, that causes you to encounter Dharma, Buddha's teaching, and then so I think that's great fortune. That's great fortune to encounter Buddha's teaching. That's a good karma. Congratulations.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. That's true. Right.
I have a question about so this question of being free from karma or not. So we have, I think we have a T-shirt, Sanshin T-shirt that says, "Live by vow, not by karma." So I wonder if you see that phrase, living by the Bodhisattva vows on the one hand, and then living by karma is sort of the idea of just being pulled around by cause and effect, conditioning.
Right.
So if we are, sort of living by vow, does that mean we are not living by karma, or does that mean, is it still in there somehow?
Right. I think
It's sort of like the some karma. We when we work with our vows and then being in the moment, we don't have to perpetuate. Like my conditioning of reaction to anger, if I could see it clearly, I don't have to, become so fearful, But that's one part of, one karma. But the other karma, if you accidentally hit your toe on something, you feel pain. That's probably won't be able to, relieve. I never not gonna feel pain anymore, but that's not gonna happen. If you also like a gravity, like if you drop something, if I'm free from karma, that's just gravity is cause and effect. You still be here. So so the different kind of, I guess, karma. Our like a mental formation is creating extra karma, but if we are living by vow, we don't have to add extra. So that's the karma part we can work with. But other part like gravity, no.
So you, in a sense, how you're seeing it is sort of, part of our practice is to be free from some cause and effect, sort of the extra layer of adding mental stuff, like the Buddha ate the poisoned mushroom and got sick and died, and it was all sort of just physical cause and effect. But in a sense, he was free from the karma of getting pulled around by all his emotional sort of.
he wouldn't be like, oh, how dare you
Give me poisonous mushroom, I'm like, who did this? Or like, I'm in such a pain, like I shouldn't have eaten, he doesn't do that, I'm sure he didn't do that, but yeah, so that's other like a mental, like anguish we can be free from as we practice, and then we can help each other too. But I don't know, like Buddha, I'm suspecting Buddha might know there's a poisonous mushroom and he ate it anyway because he's just accepting this is the way to go. But but he's the guy, he sees everything, so
So I have kind of a nerdy Buddhist studies observation about this koan. I think you covered all the interesting relevant stuff. This is just a little kind of maybe interesting background. So you mentioned gravity. So in early Buddhist thought, gravity would not be considered a form of karma because karma requires intention. So things that just happen or that happen by accident are not subject to karma. And in the early Buddhist system, it was, the people, I think, telling the story of the Buddha, it was very important to them to kind of show that he actually was not subject to karma. So that's kind of, I think, a little bit of the background of this koan, is that an early Buddhist thought, they did really think that the Buddha was not subject to cause and effect, with the exception of, they'd say the remainder, so he achieved nirvana with remainder, so that's why he still died from eating tainted pork. But it's kind of a difficult square to circle, I think. And so as Buddhism developed into Mahayana Buddhism, the emphasis on that kind of decreased a little bit. I don't think there was so much concern with proving that the Buddha was really not subject to karma in the same way that the early Buddhists were concerned. Because the idea, right, was that the Buddha would be able to escape samsara by extinguishing karma. So obviously he couldn't be creating karma if he was supposed to be free from it. But in Mahayana Buddhism, the emphasis shifts from, leaving samsara to remaining in samsara to help other people. So I think it's interesting in this koan, though, that Baizhang's answer doesn't actually negate the idea of a Buddha not being subject to cause and effect. He just says that, we need to be aware of cause and effect. So I'm just kind of curious, given that nerdy background, if that changes anything in the way that you think about it, and Baizhang's answer to the question, and maybe the answer that the person gave not necessarily being wrong exactly, but maybe just wrongly intentioned or something.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Early Buddhism is,
very influenced by Indian culture in Hinduism. So it's sort of the Mahayana Buddhism is, developed way after. So sort of it's all kind of skillful means in a way, so not grasping to not get caught in, free from karma is, and then also in the early, Buddhism, they were kind of great, let's just do it, so that's kind of there was a motivation to it. So I think it's all skillful means of the time, what do you think? Oh, wait.
Dojo is going to answer your your thoughts on it.
I don't have any thoughts.
You're hiding. Okay, Clark.
So when I first heard this koan, my impression is the old man gave the wrong answer and was punished 500 lives as a fox. But then there's a commentary by Muan who says, and I don't remember the exact words, why did the old man have to live 500 happy lives as a fox? So it sort of turned that whole punishment thing on its head, where I thought, okay, he didn't answer the question wrong, but the correct answer was a very similar answer, that you're not blind to karma. But everything is upside down and backwards when I think of it that way, right? It's not punishment, the answer wasn't wrong, the answer was maybe not complete, or I don't know, but do you have any thoughts on
So
that?
where did you read the Happy Fox, Life of Happy
It's a Mumonkan.
Mumonkan. I didn't read that.
It changed everything.
Changed everything.
We have a woodpile in our backyard, and they're actually a den for foxes in there. And baby foxes, every year, they come out and live under our front porch, and they're very happy. They are they're skinny, they're scrawny, they're always scrabbling for food, but they're very playful, especially the pups.
Yeah. So I
So that too, because I live with cats and dogs, and they seems happier than humans. You know?
Maybe they're the ones not subject to.
Right. And then if they become, the born as dogs and cats, I don't really think they were thinking about, how did I become a cat? I don't know what they're really thinking, but it doesn't look like they're thinking that. So there, it seems like it's okay to be fox. And then I don't really think it's punishment either, Yeah, but I think this is just a story. It didn't really actually happen. So I think the Todo-san said Hyakujo probably made it up, the story, when he saw like a dead fox in a backyard or something, and so he came up with the story to teach the monks to not grasp, to get rid of to get free from the cause and effect. So skillful means. Thank you.
Questions online?